Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show. It is the round 13 recap Blue Abroad Show. I'm Terry, I'm your host, and I'm joined by a very familiar voice, and we're going to see his face a little bit more tonight, as we've seen on this channel before. I speak of one of the trio of the Carlton Show, our beloved Carlton Show. We'll get to that a little later on, but Mr. Barbaza, welcome.
Oh, Terry, how formal, mate. How formal. There's plenty of things you could have called me, but Mr. Barbaza, what happened to Baz and Bagsy?
Yeah, look, we'll get there, mate. I'm just going to ease myself into it. I'm a little bit nervous having you on the show.
Big personality like me.
That's it, mate. Now, this is going to be a lot of fun, mate. This is going to be a lot of fun tonight. I've been looking forward to it. It's great to have you here. We have the Next Gen boys do some videos on the Blue Abroad channel, and it's great to sort of be the conduit for them, and then for yourself. It's great for people like me who are, I guess, the next gen for you. So it's good to have that unification of the fans. So welcome, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, bloody oath, mate.
Awesome. Before we get into it, I just want to make some thank yous. Obviously, Shad from Assertive Media. You're all very familiar with Shad Daddy. He does all the beautiful things for us behind the scenes in his studio. You won't see him tonight. You might see him at the end if he gives us a little cameo. But we do have to thank Shad. If you guys are interested in this sort of production for your company, if you're interested in starting a podcast or anything like that, Shad is your man. So Shad, we do thank you, mate. I know you can't see me, but I can see you. Oh, sorry, other way around. And then also the members of the channel. You are the lifeblood of the channel. You allow things like the Guernsey giveaways to happen. And I'm going to put your names, or Shad's going to put your names below here. Our premiership members are ZV3, Black Carrot, and Jesse F. We've got a bunch of finals members, and we also have just regular members. So that's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal effort for you guys to get around the channel like that. And like I said, you just allow it to grow, and you allow giveaways to happen, and very, very grateful for that. Now, let's begin, because Baz, we're sitting here talking after another win, sitting here talking after 6-6, and I know it's not a big deal for some. It's a pretty big deal for me, because I don't really have many memories of being sitting anywhere after round 13 with a 6-6 record. So talk to me a little bit about what you saw against the Gold Coast Suns.
Well, first of all, it is a big thing. If you've been following this club closely over the past 10 seasons, it is a big, big thing. So, anyone out there who doesn't think it's big, we've got a little chance to make the big F word later on. And that's not fuck, Terry, by the way.
Say it out proud. It's finals time.
Yeah, exactly. But look, on the game, I think personally, I think the coach put a plan in place, and I think it was executed perfectly by his boys. I think it was all for there to see. I don't think there's anything hidden. It was a short game, possession game, deny the opposition, don't go long and silly into that forward line. Lukosius was going to, probably cut you off. So I think it was methodical. I think it was well planned. I think it was perfect. And at the end of the day, we were rarely challenged throughout the day, I would have thought. I think the second quarter, they might have challenged us a little bit. And then we kicked those 3 goals late in the second term. And then look, in the last quarter, Terry, I'll be honest with you, I didn't realise till today, but our last 6 scoring shots were 6 behinds.
Wow.
So, we were 7-12. We finished on 7-18. So that's disappointing from that point of view, when percentage is all important. But it was 22 contributors as far as I saw. And I've made a comment plenty of times to plenty of people on the way that when this team under Teague, you get a contribution from 22 players, we're going to be hard to beat. On the opposition, I thought they were a little bit lackluster. We know they had the 3 in the 9 days, and but I'm not too fussed about the opposition at the moment. We're coming from a long way back, and this was perfect for us to. In actual fact, in hindsight, a game like this, we might have lost a game like this last year or the year before, or even earlier this year. But we took the mantle as favourites, and we got the chocolates.
Yeah, for sure. Tracy Reed just made a $25 donation. Thank you very much, Tracy Reed. That's a good way to start the show.
Well, if anyone donates, mate, I'm happy to throw out the big Ric Flair. They haven't heard that for a while.
you're more than welcome to throw it out there anytime you like, mate. I want to continue on from what you were saying, because there's something about this season where we've had games where we've been favourite, and that has been something we've been a little uncomfortable with, maybe as fans, but even maybe as players. They sometimes, when there's expectation to win, it can be a little bit harder for them to match it. I just thought we played like favourites. And yeah, I know, I understand there was a 4-day break for the Suns and all of that, but before the game started and before that bounce, none of that talk was happening as much as what it was after. And I think that was a credit to us. And I just noticed so much composure from the group. 93 marks. We spread them out pretty well, and I thought it was a mature performance.
I agree with you, Terry. And to be honest with you, I haven't got the stats in front of me. You might have, but I think every stat we won across the board: marks, kicks, hand passes, clearances. Forward 50 entries was ridiculous, 54-21 or something, wasn't it? Shots on goal, what was it, 25-7? I mean, honestly, every facet of the game, we smashed them everywhere, and we snuffed them out pretty quickly too. So I made a comment watching the game that it was my son's 21st, and I sat there and I'd had a couple of drinks, and not only was I relaxed, I was composed. I just sat there feeling, how easy is this? This is what I want to see from a 2-1 on favourite, which we were. Just sitting there thinking, they can't beat us. No matter what they do, they can't beat us. Like I said to you, it was a 10 out of 10 from the coach. I think he pointlessly gave it to Stewie Jew. I mean, I don't think they did anything throughout the night to change the way they were playing. So yeah, it was the easiest watch I've seen for quite some time.
Yeah, half time I felt the same. And we've had so many games this season where it's just been, okay, when is it going to capitulate? Is it going to capitulate? There was nothing like that. It was good. It was good. As where is he? Black Carrot has donated $20 with a comment for you, Baz. Big show on tonight, baggers. Loving some moments as of late. The Collingwood battle will be major scale on our club moments, but great to hear Baz's thoughts on the Suns game. Give us a woo. That'll get the cockles tingling, mate. Love it. He's back. No, it's good.
What did Clipper say? We're back. The Blue Boys are back.
Yeah. Well, that was
sorry.
No, I was going to say, speak on that. I thought that was a symbolic moment to hear Cripps.
I thought so too. When you see that passion, I think the week before, or was it the week before that, and you saw Cottrell come in and kick that goal and the passion that he showed, there was real passion. I think Gibbons on the weekend played his probably best game for the weekend, and he showed a lot of passion. But certainly, I think they knew what it meant to beat Freo the week before after the siren. You saw the elation there, and it sort of flowed on a little bit. And then after the match, when you see the co-captain come in and what it means to him, I mean, he hasn't played finals and he hasn't had any success at all, like most of the team. I don't mind seeing that, mate. I really don't mind seeing that. Now, of course, you've got the filth coming up this week, and that's what they are. They are the filth, Collingwood. So that's what we come up against on Sunday. And let's not leave it, let's not leave it in the dressing rooms. Let's go out there and prove that we have come a long way. Prove that when we do make those sort of statements, that you're going to back it up the week after.
Yeah, for sure. I found myself thinking, well, great, this composed football that we're playing, it's great. And we did it all good. Enjoy it on Friday night, enjoy it on Saturday. And then immediately my thoughts started thinking, well, can we play that composed, mature, relaxed football when the cracks are whipping against the Pies? Because, I mean, they're going to get up for it. We're going to get into the Collingwood game a little later. Sure. But, yeah, for sure. For sure.
On the weekend, Terry, did you feel that I watched the replay before and I felt like the back line squeezed up more? Did you feel that? I saw Doherty right up on the wings and right into the heart of the game. Jones a lot of times. Plowman come up a little bit. But they always had someone, over the back. But I felt like as a backline that they squeezed up a little bit more this week for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, I reckon I've noticed that for the last couple of weeks, and that's probably, a testament to why we've got this attacking game style now. I feel like we're pushing up a little bit further, and that maybe can hurt us going the other way. We can sometimes get caught out with some goals the other way. I think Port Adelaide really hurt us there, even the Hawks. But yeah, I think Samo in particular, I noticed him off the ground a little bit more to start the game. Here's another issue that we might talk about as well. But that is an interesting one upon reflection.
Yeah, I just sort of watched it today and I thought, they did squeeze up a fair bit. Now, I know they got one or they should have got two over the back when Rankin missed that one just before three-quarter time. He hit the post. And look, that would have made it 21 points, but it didn't matter in the end. But I think the other one they got one over the back and Weller ran away from Doherty and took a few bounces and kicked the goal. So, and I guess they got their other two goals from Rankin early in the match where there was room over the back, and look, Kosher's kick to I can't remember number 11 for them. I think it's number 11, but I think he got one in the forward pocket, and I think he slammed one through too. So pushing up, maybe I'm not quite sure what their reasoning was for that. But I just noticed that I thought they did it a bit more than what they had done in previous weeks. But
yeah. Luke Ryan made a donation here of $15, and he says,
Lukey Ryan, mate, the legend, mate. He used to do all the stats and everything and the votes for the Carlton show.
Is that right?
Yes, he's a legend, mate. We owe him about 3 slabs so far over 3 seasons, and I reckon he's got nothing so far.
That's brilliant. I didn't know that. He says, thanks, Terry. Thanks, Baz. Loving this content and have enjoyed it all season long. Very appreciative. Keep up the great work and go the Baggers. Thanks very much, Luke. And that's very, very interesting to know. I'm going to get through a few more comments before we move on to the votes from everybody here in the audience. Bryce Riches says that Fisher has his explosive, never give up attitude that really lifts the team, something that we've needed. It's what happens when you have to play for spots. Riley Starrage agrees with you, Baz. He says, we press very high. We put pressure on their defence to consistently hit targets on the rebound, which they couldn't, which was pleasing to see for him. We've got Michael Hexter. Sam Walsh will be a superstar for the Blues. Gibbo has found his confidence and he's killing it. Martin is the key to the side. Debbie O'Connor, only game I've watched without swearing and disturbing my neighbours. Good on you, Debbie. That's brilliant. Black Carrot here. For the boys to know that they have a great role on home and away, on home, and they can see a finish line. They want some success and result of the positive for the year after years of lowlights. Carlton _.fc. Thoughts on Gibbo patting the cameraman on the bum? Think they made a bigger deal out of it than it was. Yeah, it was an interesting one. It probably just was a timing thing. I think he got a $1,000 fine.
What was that?
So after the game, when the boys were singing the song, there's a cameraman that's actually been with our group for about 6 months, I believe they said. So he's very well known amongst the group, and Gibbo was giving him a pat on the bum while they were singing the song, just getting around him, and it obviously got caught on camera, and the AFL obviously have come out and stamped it out, and Kane Little made a comment about how it's it's unacceptable and whatnot. I think it's I know, Baz, I know, mate. I think it's got more to do with the timing of the fact that this sort of behaviour was in the limelight the week before with Marbior Chol, and I just think it's a different action to sticking your finger in his bum. I mean, we both played footy. We've both played footy. We've both been in the change rooms, and it's what is that? Is that?
So I'll put this to you. So Gibbo kicks a fantastic goal, and Eddie goes up behind him and gives him a pat on the bum. Does he get 1,000 for that too? Does he? Are we serious?
When's it going to end? Exactly right.
Are we serious? I mean, that's different to pinching blokes on the doodle and sticking your finger up someone's crack. I mean, giving them a pat on the arse is a show of appreciation or whatever. And gee whiz, if that's the case, I would have got fined about $4 million.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I came from basketball, so I didn't play footy growing up. And my first season of footy, that was I don't know. That was just sort of it's in basketball in the NBA. It's called rookie hazing. You know, you sort of the rookies. You just sort of got to acclimatise to the group. I mean, some are in that camp. Some think it's inappropriate. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things where 2020 we're in the correction age of behaviour and everything.
Look, I can understand the Richmond one, but that I haven't seen the vision of the Gibbons one. But if you're painting the right picture, that sounds to me like completely different. But anyway, that's the AFL, and that's the way they operate, and they're very, very cautious and very. They want all the mums out there to make sure that their sons play footy and their daughters play in the AFLW. So we don't want to send the wrong messages. But gee whiz, that's cool.
Well, they're just trying to add to their Christmas party fund, I think, just to the tab on the bar. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. There was someone made a comment about Fisher and how he's bought some. I agree. I'm not sure who that was, but I totally agree that the Fisher into the forward line, and he does move up the ground. I mean, the first 4 minutes, he was in the back pocket, pushing right up, and so was Eddie Betts, actually. And he actually got his first 2 touches in the back half, Fisher. He's very busy. He's a very busy player. I noticed he copped a bit of a – did he cop a bake at three-quarter time from T?
He did, at three-quarter time.
Do you reckon that was a bake or a bit more of a – was it a controlled bake, you think?
My theory is, and this is a theory, we love theories here, I think Teague – I know that we're all happy with the win and 4 points and all that. I think Bucky talks about it in his videos too, where internally Teague knows where we can do, and I think he's trying to drive the standards because, I mean, we're afraid to use the F word, but we can make the finals. We've got the ability to make the finals, and you don't want to let it go slipping when you have the opportunity to make it. And I think that's how I took it, because Fish obviously had a pretty good game. I thought one of his better games. And it could have been anything from he might have just been in a different position that Teague wanted him to be. I don't know. He might have taunted an opponent, but I did notice that too. And what did you take off from it?
Look, he obviously did something that whether it wasn't a team rule that he didn't adhere to, or I'm not quite sure, but it was certainly it wasn't friendly fire. That's for sure. He certainly gave him some sort of a cook. And, I think it's great when the coach has those lofty heights and sets those high standards, and players themselves have high standards. And if a player, look, he might have known that it was coming, perhaps. I'm not quite sure. But I couldn't, from the vision, realise what he'd perhaps done wrong to deserve that. And if, in fact, he did cop a bake. So, but I'm certainly very happy with Fisher in the side. He's very busy, very buzzy. I mean, that little, few bounces down the wing there and then over the top to Eddie, and Eddie finished off with a little bit of selling candy. It was just fucking beautiful, mate. It's just great to see the little man back in the 19. And, I don't think he's kicked, I think we spoke earlier today, and he's kicked 11 goals. It's almost a goal. Well, it is a goal a game because he missed one game against Richmond. So it's a goal a game. It's pretty much what we're looking for. We're looking for that 25 in 22 games, something like that. If he ends up getting 17 out of 17 and 3 in the 3 finals that we'll play and 6 in the grand final, I'll take that.
Absolutely.
I'll have another drink.
Drink to that. Ethan Aliano's in the comments here. Now, Ethan, for you guys at home, if you've seen the banner on this show right now, Ethan actually made that. He also does the preview and the review banners for the channel. 16 years old, full of talent. We love your work, Ethan. Thanks for joining.
Good stuff, mate. Lovely.
Let's move on to, before we go to the votes, I want to also just announce that Jacob Town was the winner of the Carlton Guernsey giveaway this week. So he picked the margin. I had a good chat with him today, so he's up and about.
Who is this bloke, mate? Where's this bloke? He wins everything.
Apparently he does. He was on the sounding board last week with Kutchie. And
he was on the other podcast there, Blues Footy, and he won the T-shirt.
Did he really?
You got something going with him or something.
Mate, it's favourites. What can I say? Looking out for our own. He's done well. He's had a good weekend.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Jake, how about throwing a little donation in, mate?
Yeah, don't be shy.
Little tenner for the Bagsy.
Might give you a little woo. Mate, Let's move on to the votes. Before we move on to the votes, let's start with two notables. So how we work it is you'll give us two notables, guys who didn't make your votes, but you wanted to give them a bit of a shout out. And then the audience will get involved in that as well. And then we'll go from there.
Well, my two notables were Mick Gibbons and Liam Jones. I could have probably given you another dozen, to be perfectly honest with you.
It's one of those games.
Gibbons probably the best game for the year, and I think Liam Jones is just strength to strength, mate. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, he responded from the week before, I thought. I thought he just rose to the occasion. Just staunch. He and Weeders. I think Jones took day for the most part of the night. I know that they really rotate a lot, and it's modern footy. Rarely are you on one guy for an entire game. But yeah, I thought even his kicking. I thought even his kicking out of defence was really good. There weren't any of those, those moments with his kicking. I just thought he was staunch for sure.
Yeah. Look, just one thing on the game that I just wanted to mention was that, to all the folks out there watching and listening, try, I've given you a few woos and I'm quite happy about the win, obviously, and yourself and everything, but try not to get too mixed up in what we achieved on the weekend. To me, it looked like a little bit of a soft game, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think the opposition were much chop on the evening. So, and I'm not taking anything away from the Blue Boys, but, when you look at the list of players that got a lick at the ice cream, there was plenty. Have a look at the disposals, Cripps and Ed Kerno, Walsh, Nunes, Gibbons, Fisher, Murph. We haven't spoken about Murph. His best game for the year by a fair stretch. Just if you look at all the amount of disposals, Setterfield even, all those guys there, they had a lot of ball. Now, that probably hasn't happened to us. I don't think that hasn't happened to us this year. So is it more about them or about us? Well, only the next 5 games we'll sort of we'll see what happens. Whether we can get a fair share of the ball and a good look at the ice cream so everyone can get a share of it.
Yeah, well, as we said earlier,
that's what I'm saying, don't get too sort of worked up and ahead of yourselves because we beat Freo the week before after the siren and beat a side that, they had 6 players under the age of Sam Walsh.
Mm.
So a little bit of perspective just for people. I'm joking around when I get all carried away in that, but just a little bit of perspective for people out there who are probably getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Mind you, I did say Betts kicked 6 in the grand final.
You did. It's a good wise reminder. I think. I think you're right. I think also, as we said before, because we moved the ball so well early in the piece with the kick mark game, it probably inflated some of their numbers because they spread so much. They got some uncontested marks around the ground. And you're right, like half time, I think Murphy had 18. There were 3 or 4, maybe 5 guys who had over 10 or 11. And it hasn't been something that we've seen a lot.
I forgot the other one, Jack Martin. He had plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Absolutely. My two notables were Nunesy and Plowman. Nunesy, because I thought for a guy who doesn't stand out much this season, I thought maybe that kick after the siren last week, and as we all know, it's really endeared him to the club now. He's had his moment. Every new player sort of needs their moment or their game, and I think Martin had his in round 1, and Nunesy just sort of went about his business, but, that kick gets remembered for many years to come. And I thought early in the piece he just was there. I believe he had 8 or 9 in the first quarter, and I thought he stood out. I mean, the fact is he's a guy that's giving us something like 12 to 13 a game, but he's had 23. He set up a few goals as well. He tackled well. So I thought I had to give him a little bit of a shout out. And my 2020 boy, Lockie Plowman, thought he was outstanding again. Part of a back 6 that conceded 27 points for the game. And I know that some credit needs to go to the midfielders for the pressure that they put on. But, I mean, I just think they're clicking. And you and I spoke earlier today. A lot of our back 6 have played every game this season.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where you get that continuity and cohesion. I think the well, let's say we have a back seven, so to speak, because we do play a spare. But, you know, when you look at the back 6, 7, whatever it is, I think only Williamson missed the Richmond game and has played every other game. So really they've played 10 and 11 games, 12 games together, which, you know, it shows. It actually shows. And just on Plowman, I couldn't disagree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. Sorry, that was fantastic. You know, he's come alive in the last, well, probably since he's been re-signed. He's really come really good this year. He is did come third in the best and fairest last year, much to the, you know, a lot of people wouldn't have agreed with that. But on Nunes, he did kick a goal. Probably should have kicked another one, but he was everywhere. Like, he's doing some hard running, Terry. I spoke to a mate of mine who's a staunch St Kilda supporter, and I said, when we got him, I said, "Oh, what sort of a player?" And he goes, "Look, he's honest. He's blue collar, honest. Probably mucks up the ball a little bit, you know, in the general field of play." But he goes, he was touted as potentially a captain of the St Kilda Footy Club. He's played 160 odd games. Terry, I venture to say there wouldn't be too many that played 160, 170 games of football and continued on another club. If you can't play, you must be able to play.
Yeah.
So the vitriol that he was copying probably in the first month at Carlton by a lot of social media people, and they're all entitled to their opinion. But he was an easy target, I found. An easy target. Comes from another side, gets his 12 or 13, like you said. You know, they want to see him getting 25 and kick 2 goals. Well, guess what, folks? That's fucking like, ain't going to fucking do that every week. You know, seriously. And only now on the weekend, if you look at the players that we mentioned, those 8 or 9 players that got over 18 to 28, they've probably had game-high disposals all in the same game for the year. Like, a lot of those blokes, Nunes probably wouldn't have had 23 this year in any game. Now, Gibbons probably hasn't had 19 in any game. Will Setterfield, 23. Mark Murphy, 28. So everyone's produced on the one day. Unfortunately, you know, we should have won that by 10, 12 goals, 100%. Yeah,
that's probably just the next step. You know, where a team has come from where we've come from last year, and this year it's probably the theme this year I think is, right, now we're putting ourselves in winning positions, and sometimes it happens and sometimes we fall over the line and sometimes we absolutely cook it late and we're ruining our missed opportunities. But, yeah, it just seems like when this group, sorts themselves out and matures a bit more, another layer, those sort of games, and with that sort of dominance, it'll translate to the scoreboard, and that's just our next step.
Well, I think in essence, when I reflect on this year thus far, I reflect and look at the opportunities that have been given to Josh Honey, to Sam Philp, Tommy DeConning, Mark Pittonet, Tommy Williamson, Cottrell. I think they're probably the main ones that what it does, it opens up the list. You know, whereas a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I personally might have been querying, did we have a hole in the forward line to, have a Papley? Do we need 2 more midfielders like an Ollie Wines and an Oliver? Do we need a Lockie Hunter on the wing? Do we need a Zach Williams or Sard type player out of the back line? Now, all of that, and still they might be able to find 1 or 2 of those players, but I don't think we need all of them. And when you look at the list now, and when you see what you see now and producing now, the list looks a bit better. It's been exposed in a good way. And against West Coast, the side we put out against West Coast was nowhere near our best 22, and we pushed them and gave them a scare in their own ground, on their own ground, where they, as well as I, it's a 4 or 5 goal advantage, and we had them. We couldn't go on with it. Perhaps it was a little bit about leadership. Perhaps it's just that they had a better midfield than us, and they rose to the occasion. But there's lots of good things down the track for us. And just the list itself, I'm glad in a strange way that we've had injuries to Matthew Cruiser, Marchbank, McGovern, Charlie, Paddy Dow, all these names, Dave Cunningham, all these names, most people would have thought, oh, they're in your best 22. Nick Newman, all those players I've mentioned could easily be in our best 22. But right now, I venture to say to you, I wouldn't know what our best 22 is.
Yeah. We'll touch on that because it's one of the key questions with the fan Q&A. We haven't given our votes yet, so why don't you start us off with your 1, your 2, and your 3 because people are keen to see.
Right. Yeah, no problems. Oh, look, I gave 1 to Harry. I thought it was the best forward, best big forward on the night. Unfortunately, kicked inaccurately, but he was a target. He was a worry for them. I think he kicked 2-4 or 2-5 on the night, something like that. I gave him 1. One thing about Harry, must say about Harry is that he seems to be taking a lot of shots at goal from the boundary line and probably just that little bit far out. I think that's where McGovern, if he comes in, he might be able to straighten Harry up a little bit, perhaps. So I gave him 1. Sorry?
How so?
Well, because he might be able to take a defender away and Harry might be able to be a bit more one-on-one. He might be able to create some space for Harry to lead into, but more in that sort of arc, that sort of arc to goals where you want to be, 45 degrees and kicking them like around the corner. They're not easy kicks, mate. He might make them look easy from time to time, but he can shank them too. So if he straightens up a little bit, we can get him straightened up a little bit. And I'm not saying he's going to kick a bag of 6 or 8, but if he can get his 3 or 4 from time to time, I think McGovern's the type that might be able to straighten him up. And certainly if they've got Charlie in the side, well, that to me looks like a forward line in the making that will give a lot of teams headaches. So I thought I gave him 1. Sorry.
My brother-in-law, just on Harry, I speak to him every week before and after the game and during the week, and he made a point to me about Harry with his goal kicking, particularly from those set shots on the boundary. And he says to me, he doesn't look at the goals when he lines himself up. He's not actually focusing on the goals. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I do. But what I have noticed recently from those particular shots, he seems exhausted. Like he's doing a power of running, I reckon, around that forward line, which you will not see because you just don't see the whole ground. But when he's out of puff, mate. So, which is a good thing because at least he's working hard. But I do notice I think most players have that goal sense. He knows where they are. He's got to go through. That's his routine. Who am I to change his routine? But look, he's jagged a few of those ones. But I just like to straighten him up a little bit. And I think it's a low percentage is what I'm saying. Where he takes those kicks a very, very low percentage. And we need to straighten that up a little bit. So I gave him 1. I thought he was the best big man forward on the ground. I gave 2 to Jack Martin. I thought Jack Martin's game right from the get-go. He's an exciting player. He's a player that we got for nothing, which is a stroke of genius from Steve Silvani, absolute stroke of genius. And he's an impact player, but can go through the midfield, can kick goals. He's got attributes, he can, weave and move and he's just got the steps. He's got an eye for the goal, although he's missed a few set shots, but he has got an eye for the goal. I thought he was brilliant. He gave us an injection of I guess you could tell the players like him too. He's infectious. He gets them up and going, and he's got a little bit of what in him too. I'll see you next Tuesday. So he's got a little bit of that. Got a few of them. We've got Williamson who's got a bit of that as well. And I thought he was quite influential on the night. Without looking at his stats, to the eye, he looked as if he was one of our better players. And look, standout to me was Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy, Terry, we've had plenty of discussions about Murph. I've got to get it out of my head that he's not 27, 28 years old. I've been on his back for a couple of years. Probably to be honest with you, probably because I like him so much that I kind of always hoped that Murph was going to be the same right throughout his career. Now, he's had his fair share of injuries. He's had his positional changes. Now he's more back in the middle. He looks a little bit more comfortable in the middle. providing Ed, Setters, and Cripper are the ones kind of feeding them out, But you know what? I saw him put his body on the line 2 or 3 times on the weekend in 50-50 balls, which I don't see a lot of. But, who knows how he's been told to play. But I guess when you got to go, you got to go. And I think, for me, standout, I can't even remember what he's – I don't have to look at his stats, mate. That was a standout to me.
It's one of those games, you just watch it. Yeah, I had my 2 votes and my 3 votes were the same as you. I had Martin and Murphy as our best 2. I actually gave Jones the 1 just to give him a little bit extra there. But someone's going to be unlucky. But yeah, just on Murph, it's an interesting one. I've been obviously I'm his number 1 fan. Just he was the young kid when I was 14, 15 when he got drafted, and he was just like the great white hope moving forward, and that was like, yes, that's my new favorite player. And the journey of him of Murph has been fascinating. Somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was 2013 or 14, it all turned, and I think you look at the surgeries he's had. We're talking about 13 shoulder operations. We've got the thread on Twitter that I put up. He has put his body on the line, and for a guy who probably isn't that player, he's done his fair share of putting his body on the line. Now, that doesn't excuse him for not doing it this year. And the point I've made this year about him is if he's not going to be that 20-plus ball-winning, classy player, then he's probably got to try and find another way to impact the game, whether it's through pressure or whatever it is. And as long as he's getting his 20 to 22, I think that's going to be okay for us.
Yeah, well, I think he's still got the skills, and I think in the Freo game, albeit the conditions were difficult, I felt that he hurt us a few times when he had time and space. But again, I've been a fair critic of his, and I'd be, I wouldn't do myself justice if I'm going to sit here saying that, I haven't said bad things about Murph. I want to be open and honest. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, yeah, I'm his biggest fan, rah, 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 because I haven't been in the last 2 or 3 seasons. And truth be known, they'll give him a year next year. I probably was in that – I was in that sort of I personally didn't think that they should give him another year because I didn't feel he was the player that – well, this is coming from a personal point of view. I didn't feel that he was the player that I thought we want him to be. Now, that's got nothing to do with what Carlton want him to be. I kind of want him to be, the bloke who's, snagging a goal, setting them up. Well, he could have kicked 3 on the weekend just quietly, but I'd like him to finish some good work. I'd like him to be, in the middle of some good work. So I have been harsh on him, and whether he gets another contract or not, and I believe he probably will. I'm pretty sure he will. Just Murph has to do probably a little bit more than what I've seen. But in saying that, I rated him a 6.5 out of 10 for the season thus far before the weekend. Now that's probably gone to a 7. Which you could take that you take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's had.
I guess if you're gonna, this is how I look at it. If you're gonna take him out, make sure that whoever comes in is playing better than Murph. So if you take him out and you put in Lockie O'Brien or Dave Cunningham or Paddy Dow, or can you say with the utmost of confidence that they're going to play better than Mark Murphy? Now, I can't say that with confidence.
Especially when we're in the hunt, when the season is well and truly alive. If we've won 3 games for the year and it's like, okay, it's time to get the old out and the new in, and then there's an argument to be made. But when the season's on the line, you've got to have your best available 22 in there, I would have thought.
Yeah. And I guess there were probably times where I was questioning whether he was, but that's just me. That's just me wanting the best all the time. But, when I went back and looked at, his stats and whatever this year, I kind of realised that he played a few more better games than what I thought, and how quickly you forget. So, I know in the Carlton show, when we've done the Carlton show over the past 3 seasons, he's always been up in the top 5 or 6 in our best and fairest. So, it's not to say I don't see his good performances, because he was finishing top 3. I mean, he was the best and fairest winner, 2 or 3 seasons ago, wasn't he?
2017, best and fairest winner.
Yeah, so it's not too long. It's 3 years, but still, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know where he would be sitting in the best and fairest right now, but I presume he's in the top 10.
It's going to be an interesting one for sure.
So if he's in the top 10, how do you say, oh, you can't go on next year? If Simo's in the top 10, how do you say, oh, you're not going on next year?
Yeah. They obviously believe in him. Let me get through a few of the fans' votes. So, guys, if I have missed you, I'm going to get through to you now. If you haven't put your 3, your 2, and your 1, this is the time. Helena Petra was given 3 to Murph, 2 to Martin, 1 to Walshy, who hasn't been mentioned a lot. But, yes, he's going well. Murphy, 3, 2 Gibbons, 1 Mackay from Neck Minute. Rafi Vartanian, don't have a best 3, I have a best 6. Our defenders were magnificent. I love that. Daniel Young, 3 to Murph, 2 to Fish, 1. Geez, can I have all of them? Let's go with Weeders. Love that. We've got one more that I've got to read out here. No, I've missed it, I think. No, Daniel Young. It was the hardest 3-2-1 I've ever tried to do this year. It was a great team effort, particularly defensively. Excellent. Excellent. Just to recap, the coaches' votes. So Murph got the 10. Martin was given 4 votes. Walsh was given 4 votes. Cripps and Jones were given 3, Mackay and Wiedering 2, Gibbons and Noons 1. So it was a full house, absolute full house. And I've got another thank you to make, which I mentioned it last week in a video. Now, Sean Costello and his son Jude went back. So obviously I do my player ratings every week, and I actually didn't save them for the first 4 rounds. So I have 5 onwards, and people were asking, well, what's your player ratings for the year? And Sean Costello, who I'm pretty sure is in the audience, with his son Jude, went back through videos 1 to 4, watched all of them again, and wrote down the player ratings so I could create this table and get the final scores out. So, guys, thank you very much for that effort.
Good people out there, Trevor. There's some good people out there.
Absolutely, there is. There sure is. The next thing on the agenda.
Can I just pick up on someone's point about the defence and how good they were? And I'm not disagreeing.
Yep.
But to me, I didn't feel like they were under the pump. 21 inside 50s for a game of football, you're not really under the pump. That's what Gold Coast had, 21 inside 50s. I'll tell you who was under the pump, the Gold Coast. They had 50. We had 54 entries the other way.
Yeah, wow.
So look, and I don't disagree with whoever said that. Absolutely, our defence stood up. They did what, as we spoke, even Wiedering put Ben King to bed. He pulled up the blanket, tucked him in, gave him a little hot water bottle just to snuggle him in, keep him nice and warm, put a little nightcap on him, turned the lights off and said, "Good night, Ben. See you when you're a real player, son. In about 3 or 4 years' time, we'll come around again and see if you can beat me then. But right now, oh, boy, I actually didn't know he was playing."
Yeah, especially at halftime. Well, that's probably something that hasn't been spoken about a lot. For the first time in this group's existence, there are now some games where the experience of what we would call our young boys, these Harrys, these Wiederings, these Fishers, they're actually coming up against kids who are younger than them for the first time. And it's like, oh, it's amazing what time does,
Well, how many games would Wiedering play now? He hasn't missed a lot, has he? Has he missed a lot? He's played. Is this his 5th season? Yes, it is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, he'd be close to 80, surely.
And he's come up against a kid in Ben King, and yeah, he absolutely. And look, Wiedering will know that against his brother took a couple of good marks against him against St Kilda, and probably not that he's one up on him, but he didn't want to lower his colours to the Twins, did he?
Yeah, well, that's it. I spoke about it earlier in the week last week about. You just know Max is giving Ben's giving Max a call. Hey, what did you do? How did it work? But Wiedering being that he's just developing into just a great human first, great human.
Yeah. He speaks really well.
Yeah, and that's
the potential leader of the club down the track. Him and Walsh, they are sort of developing beautifully on and off the field. They speak so well.
Yeah, no, it's a testament. It's a testament to the the boys that we've drafted and the characters that we've drafted. So very happy with that. Next up, we've got the Pies. And I don't want to talk too much about the game just yet because there's a lot that has to happen. They're actually playing right now. But I want to dive into the rivalry because you've grown up with Collingwood being the absolute enemy, the filth. I can't help but feel like it's sort of changed a little bit over the last decade, maybe 2 decades, just probably maybe a bit to do with how badly we've been. Maybe they've had some success, so there's a bit of a respect factor there. But can't help but feel for the first time in this one of these matchups, we go in with a group that's ready to compete with them and take it up to them.
Just on the rivalry, and I know there's probably a lot of younger people watching and listening, and they will say, no, Terry, no, Baz, no. The biggest rivalry is now Carlton, Essendon. We hate them. And that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. There's no issue with that. But let me tell you, folks, let me tell you what is the biggest fucking rivalry, right, in this country. It is Carlton v. the Filth. It is Carlton v. Collingwood. When this bloke goes to the football as an 8 and 9-year-old and gets his Carlton beanie taken off him from a Collingwood supporter and they fucking burn it in front of you, right? What do you reckon I'm going to fucking say? When you get spat on when you go to Victoria Park as a young kid, 13, 14-year-old, walking out and get spat on there by their supporters. And when you see the Ray Shaws and the Rene Kicks get reported for spitting, Alex Jesaulenko, Dave Mackay, and you see what Banks did to Reece Jones and maybe Reece deserved it. You see what Magro did to Jesaulenko. You think I'm going to sit here and respect them? You're fucking kidding yourself. Yeah. Let me tell you right here, right now, they are the filth. And the rivalry, right, will always sit in the pit of my guts, right, for the rest of my life. And I can tell you 100 other stories about the filth. So let's be very, very honest that they are the biggest arch rivals to Carlton right now.
Yeah, that's giving me goosebumps. I love that. I love it. I love it. I don't want to look too far ahead, but fuck, I really think we can take it to them. I really think this is the time to get them.
Well, you know what, Terry? These are the games that, as a supporter, you embrace. You love the challenge. The boys will love the challenge. You know, like they've probably beaten up on us. We've beaten them in the last 5 or 6 years, or
20. Fuck, it's got to be something like 20. Was it 2017? Maybe it hasn't been a lot.
Right. So this is one that, okay, they've had a few things go on the field and off the field against them. They're a little bit depleted. Side bottom's not playing, and you know they're not playing good footy. And Grundy doesn't seem to be playing good footy. I don't know what's happening tonight against North Melbourne. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because it's all about us on Sunday. Now that game is a massive challenge. We know what's at stake. We know we've got 2, in inverted commas, easier games to come later on in Sydney and Adelaide. You need to pinch. Look, I'm not quite sure what's going to get us a potential final spot, whether it's 3 wins, 4 wins. But this game here, you want to play finals, you got to be beating sides like this. So let's not muck around, right? Let's not muck around. Let's put the balls on the line on Sunday. And I don't care how they win, Terry. I don't care whether it's a smashing or another win after the siren by Nunes from 50 out on the boundary line. I couldn't care how we do it to them. But we need this win on Sunday just to see. Look, we had them last year, late in the 4th term.
It's all.
Yeah. But then they kicked, the last 4 or 5 of the match in the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Yep.
And that's when they were flying. And we were, I venture to say that side that we had was vastly different to what we're going to come in on. And you know what? That side might have even been a better side that we had on paper. But this side's playing good footy. This side's, got a dimension in their team now that they're willing to run back and forward. we've got some runners in there. Walsh runs his ass off. Cottrell runs his ass off. Gibbons is up and back. You've got Fisher and Betts, and they're all buzzing around, and they've got Setterfield. And see, it's really hard to look at names and just say names mean a good side. Names mean nothing. It's the combination at the moment that is putting out some reasonable football. Whether they can get the job done against, the filth on the weekend, we don't know. I certainly hope they can get the job done. But for me, it's not. I can't stand listening to people who say, this player, that player, this player is out. It's only the 22 on the day that can win you the game. So, but at the moment, we're playing reasonable football. We're not playing unbelievable football. We're probably playing well enough to take it right up to them. And I expect us to take it right up to them. And so will the coach, and so will the players, and so will the supporters. So this is huge. Anyone who doesn't watch this game and you're a Carlton supporter, you've got fucking rocks in your head. This is big. This is big. It's everything on the line on Sunday, believe you me, everything.
And it's a massive and very unique, maybe once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Queensland fans to watch a Carlton-Collingwood game at the Gabba. I don't know if it's happened before. I don't know if it will happen again. So I look to that. I look forward to guys like Riley and Debbie, Lauren, some of the absolute stalwarts of the Queensland group who I've come to know really well to get that opportunity. Are you making any changes? Because I think what we know is, the report will come out tomorrow, but we know that Cunningham played in that scratch match. We know that I think Kennedy is fit. I think Marchbank is fit. Are you looking at any changes? And this is obviously for you guys at home. Put your changes or your suggested changes in the comments, and we'll read them out.
Look, Terry, it's a tough one because you hate changing winning sides. I don't know if there's any niggles. This is probably not this is the week you've got to go in with the strongest side you can possibly field. Gee, it's a tough one, mate. Look, maybe Cunningham you'd look at. I think he's got X factor about him. But and the only player I'd be looking at changing for would be maybe, and he'd be bloody stiff to go out, would be Cottrell.
Yep.
But see, Cottrell runs his ass off, mate, and I'm not sure that Cunningham does that role. I'm probably going in as selected, but that's the only change I could even entertain, and probably would be Cunningham for Cottrell, and that would be really, really harsh on the kid. Really harsh, actually.
Yeah, it would be harsh, but I actually think that would be the change I would make too. I think Cunningham did very well against them from memory last year, and I think the idea of Cunningham, Fisher, Martin in that sort of forward of centre, I just think that's a nightmare for the Pies. And for all the talk about us going in too tall, I think we've got plenty of crafty guys there. So I'd be looking at that, and it is stiff. It is stiff, but we're now at that point where it's absolutely cutthroat. Some people here are asking.
I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Paddy Dow might be the other one they might look at, but again, it's fraught with a little bit of danger because what you want is cohesion, continuity. You want, they're up and about these 22. Look, it's an interesting one. They've got some thinking to do. Whether they make a change or two. You're happy with the Conning Pitternet up against Grundy? I am. I think that's the way to go and work him over like they worked Witts over.
I think it's a great opportunity for Tom to play against Nick Nat, to play against Brodie Grundy. These are the guys who he needs to get some reps. So I like it. But some people here, a lot of people, are asking about Samo, and they're looking at him maybe being dropped. What's your take on the Sam Petrevski-Seaton situation?
Look, he's not in what you would say scintillating form. You'd love to sort of see him get 15 or 18 touches and deliver the ball, all over the park because he has got good skills. But look, if people are asking him to be dropped, look, he did have a little bit of a shoulder problem, and I see it's taped up, and he did get dumped and he did go off. If that's giving him any trouble, well, then, now's the time to basically make changes in that area. You've got Cottrell who can go back and fill that role. You've got Nunes who can possibly fill that role. But perhaps more, say, Cottrell. Collingwood's got a few buzzy forwards. They've got, the Browns and Dacoses and all these guys. They've got plenty of them, Elliott and all the rest of it. So if Samo's got an injury, if they're asking for him to come up the ground, well, I'd be suggesting to them, I only want people in our midfield and wingers and half forwards and pockets who are prepared to run both ways, right? And you got to be very, very careful bringing Samo up into that, into that area all of a sudden. So, and then someone said about the back line, why would you change it? Why would you break it? I'll ask people about Samo. If you can tell me out of the 23 matches that he's played down back, give me one time that you can recall a little forward pulling his pants down.
Good point.
If you can, please let me know. If someone's got hold of him and kicked 3 or 4, let me know about it before you start looking at how many possessions he had. Of course we want him to have the ball 18 times and distribute it. Of course we do. But if his role is to beat your opponent, as Simo's is at the moment, and let Willow get on the run, let Doherty, distribute the ball, Weeders and these guys, let them distribute the ball, Plowman even, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Look, it's a tough one. He might be. Maybe that shoulder's giving him some grief. Maybe he's playing with a bit of pain. So he might be one they might look at, perhaps. It might be the week after when, this is the one that you want everyone playing, potentially to their best. So. Oh, look, it's not a bad suggestion. It's just that I feel that if you're going to push him up the ground, tell me who's going to play his position. If he
not get beat.
Hey,
and not get beat the way he doesn't get beat.
And not get beat. I mean, honestly, ask your viewers. Ask them, please. Put down here who he beat in the last. Who beat him in the last 23 rounds that he's played down back. I want a name and how many goals that they kicked on him.
I'm yet to see one yet. I'll ask this next question.
You might not either.
I don't think I'll see many.
No, probably not.
We asked the question because obviously with the way the fixture has been this year, it's been in bunches. Now the 4 games that we've just finished, we got given those 4 games in a one block. And I asked the question at the start of the 4 games, what would be a pass mark for everyone? And for the most part, everyone said 2 of the 4. Non-negotiable 2 of the 4. So we've done that relative tick. So we've got 5 games coming up. Obviously the Pies, then the Giants, then Sydney, then Adelaide, then Brisbane. So I'm going to ask the question again to you, Baz, and then to everyone at home. Give me a number in the comments. We've got 5 games. How many wins from the 5 is going to be having you say at the end of that 5-week block, I'm satisfied? What's the minimum for you?
Minimum 3.
Yep.
That's the bare minimum.
Yep. That gives us 9 wins. Does that guarantee you a spot in?
I wouldn't say it's guaranteed. It might come down to percentage. Yeah. And there's a couple of teams that have got half games there. I think so Collingwood and Melbourne have had draws, St Kilda or something. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure, but it'll come down to percentage and that half game, I guess, whether it's in their favour or against them. So, but 3 minimum for me.
Yep. Black Carrot says 4. Why Do I Like says at least 3. Matt Miller says finals is the only answer, so 4 games. Bobby says 3. Sava 4. Jonathan Very 4. Rafe Urban 3. Bob 3, Ari Stamadakos 3 minimum 4 to make finals. Matthew McGowan 3, Rob Galicio 3, Andrew Satsias 3, Drunkill 4, Jake Marino 4, Matt Gondalfo would love 4 and 1, but I think it'll be 3 and 2. So that gives us a bit of an idea as to where people are. The last little section.
They're in between that 3 and 4, aren't they? Really?
Yeah.
We'll probably end up winning 5.
It'll be a Carlton thing to do, wouldn't it?
Oh.
The last bit, mate, we've got a bit of a fan Q&A going, so I've got some questions. We're probably going to go 5 or 6 minutes over the 8 o'clock mark, but I think people will enjoy that. one of the key questions I'm getting this week and I've seen online is about every week. It's about who we're trading, trade equity. Do we need to trade players? Do we need to trade draft picks? Do we have equity in the list? What do you think? Is it too early to be talking about trading players right now before we even know if this group's going to make finals? Or do you think we've got players on this list that are movable? Do you think it's a draft pick situation? What are you looking at as the shape of the list?
Well, as I sort of said before, we've sort of learnt a little bit more about the list. Players that I wouldn't have expected. Would people have said that Sam Philp, Josh Honey, and Cottrell would have got games this year?
Maybe Philp.
I bet you quite a few out there. No, before, like when you drafted them. I bet you no one would have said, "Oh yeah, they'll be playing games this year." No one. So we've learnt a little bit about a couple of those blokes, right? So in terms of where the list is at, I would say that there's 3 or 4 pretty much, I'd say their papers are stamped. I would go on the record as saying I think Goddard, Darcy Lang, possibly Callum Moore, depending on what happens with Cruz. Their papers are just about stamped, I would imagine. That to me looks pretty. Then when it comes to draft picks, no, I don't think we need any more kids whatsoever. Have we got a first, second, third, and fourth draft pick next year, or have we got a second? I'm not sure, but let's just say we've got a first, second, third, fourth. I would be getting rid of all of those picks, all of them, and try and get a particular player in or 2 particular players in, whatever they're looking at. If they had to get rid of a first round draft pick this year and next to secure someone outstanding, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I don't think we're not at the stage to bring in any more kids. We need 25, 26-year-olds who can play footy. And but now you're asking me who to put up for trade. I'm not really sure that I want to get into that because I think that is all speculation. It's too hard I think I'm happy for you to go for it, but I'm not over that. I can't answer that question. I did hear people say Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. I've just polished off a gin and tonic and a McCracken and
another one.
I've got a feeling that those people who want Charlie and Harry put up might have had a box of what I've just drunk, not 2 drinks. So that won't be happening. That will not be happening, folks. It won't happen. Simple as that. Won't happen. They won't put up McGovern. They won't. They just won't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, Terry. I mean, if you want me to name names,
you have to. And also because the season's not done. I like to. It's just one of those popular things. Everyone asks it. Like I ask for the questions for the show every week. 60 to 70% are all about Papley, Ollie Wines, who we're bringing in, who's a trade target.
I'll guarantee you one thing. I'll bet you we don't get Papley. I'll bet you we don't even inquire.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I honestly believe the names that get spoken about the most. I don't remember the last time it happened. Yeah, and
let me tell you something about Nick Austin, and to your listeners, I know for a fact he is brilliant. Brilliant, very, very highly regarded amongst the whole AFL fraternity. So let me tell you that whatever happens, he'll be doing the best he can with what he has. I reckon he'll have license to get rid of those 4 picks. I reckon he definitely will have license to get rid of those. Now, whether there's other players involved, Terry, I can't. Really, it's speculation, mate. I don't know anything. I haven't heard anything. We don't even know what the lists are going to comprise of. Are they going to be 38, 41? Is it going to be 45? What's the dollar figure on the cap? There's so many things. Oh, what about the people there? Who are they throwing up? People throwing up names?
People are talking about, what have we got here? Let's go through some comments. You guys at home, you guys are the list managers, the ones asking the questions. Let's see what you've got for us here. Adrian Salerno believes Marchbank for Papley. Papley's coming because he's best mates with Newman, says Tyson Munro. What do I like, says Charlie or Harry, what the fuck? Matthew Miller, Marchbank, McCready, Cruiser, and Casbolt most likely to be put up for trade. What else have we got here? Bryce Richards says, we need high draft picks if we want to bring in players. Got to give to get. Steve Reed says, if Newman is not fully fit and if Simo retires, surely we need Zach Williams. Greek from Australia says, no Papley for us now. Simon Joyce asks if Betts gets another year. Matt Gandolfo says, would Jack Silvani ask for a trade for more opportunity? Just asking. Helena says, you're out of your mind if you think Charlie and Harry are going to be traded. Rowan Vertigan's given us an update. Been watching the Collingwood game. They look really, really shit. Looking forward to Sunday. Chichio Branco says he thinks that Marchbank will be offered up. Anthony Ioannidis says that Wines wants to stay at Port. Andrew Bakes says that the ones that say Charlie and Harry are not supporters. He's gone bang. Wildy believes the Papley boat has sailed. Shad Daddy says one of our tools has got to go up forward. I'd keep Charlie and Gov. I think he means one of the four has got to go. So yeah, a bit missed. Zach Williams is the.
I'm interested in why people are putting Caleb Marchbank's name up. I wonder why they're bringing him up. I'm not quite sure. What, because he's been out of sight, out of mind? I mean, what, because we've got, Wiedering and Jones, what, they're never going to get injured? Because we've got Plowman, he's never going to get injured? I mean, I've seen some talls played off the wing. Marchbank could be the... if Simpson doesn't go on, you bring Marchbank in, you push Samo. I don't know. I'm loath to put names up. And I know that's great to put names up. That's awesome. You've asked them. That's awesome. But seriously, and Marchbank, what currency would Marchbank get? Marchbank for Papley, did someone say?
Yeah.
Terry, you reckon Sydney going to say, yep, no dramas.
No drama. Swap. Yeah, I'll drive him to the airport.
Straight swap. We'll take a bloke who's hardly played any footy for Papley, who's been our leading goal kicker. Yeah, absolutely. No worries. We'll do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Gentleman's handshake.
No, look, it's an interesting one. I can understand people are saying, are putting Marchbank's name up because he's out of sight, out of mind. But what if he played all year this year and was blowing it out of the park? I bet you they wouldn't have put his name up then.
Yeah, it'll take one game back from Marchbank, and I think people will remember why he's at the club. He's a very, very talented boy.
Well, a very good mate of mine with the initials Andy Marr, right?
Yeah.
Said to me that he knew someone up at the GWS when we traded and got Caleb Marchbank. They didn't want to let him go. They thought he was absolutely in their 22, absolutely. Now he's been riddled with injuries. So all of a sudden we want to get rid of him? What, because he hasn't been on the park? Now, big boys can take a while, mate. You've got to put some time and effort into these guys. You can't just, we've got heaps of tools. Have we? Down back, have we? If something happened to Wiedering tomorrow, what happens?
You have to put Levi there.
Correct. But he's 30 years of age. Is he going to do exactly the same job as Wiedering?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
If something happened to Jones, is Wiedering, Casbolt a good combination? Is Jones, Casbolt a good combination? And that's why I say it's good to keep Gov on the list, because Gov has played down back for Adelaide and he's a swingman, can be a swingman. So he's good to have on the list. He can play that role down back. But Marchbank, we can certainly carry Marchbank on the list, I would have thought. Whether Lockie O'Brien's up to it, whether Dave Cunningham, but these are all probably blokes who are contracted, mate. So you're talking about contracted players. And Papley's contracted for 3 years. So Sydney going to say, yeah, no worries, you can come after him, no problems, you can have him.
Yeah, just a straight
contracted for 3 years, but you can have him.
Yeah.
It's pie in the sky stuff. Someone asked about Jack Silvani. Would he look for better opportunities? Look, I heard a whisper last year.
I feel like he would have played this year had he just not been injured. He's had a horror run at it this year.
Yeah, I heard a whisper last year that, he might have had a conversation about it, but no, you're a required player. So I've always said that Jack is a handy player to have, and I think he's not necessarily in our best 22. He can be, but I reckon he's he's definitely in our best 25.
Yeah.
If you're in the best 25, you stay. You wait for your opportunity.
Yeah. 100%.
So I hope I haven't been too sort of. I like to have given some names up, but you can't go down that path, Terry. It's very, very difficult, I'm afraid. And it'd be interesting to see if we do go for a certain player in the draft, if we do secure that player in the draft, and is it going to be a draft pick and a player?
Yeah.
Who might be, look, there might be players. Mate, Lockie O'Brien might turn around and say, look, I can see the writing on the wall here. We've got, you're picking Nunes ahead of me, you're picking Cottrell in front of me, and Walshy's on the wing, and you got Down, you got this guy. He might think, gee, I'm going to be starved of opportunity here.
Mm.
There will be a player or two. Carlton's not, just because you're Carlton doesn't mean all our players are going to stay at Carlton. There will be a player or two who might feel that, look, I can't see, that I'm going to get opportunities here. So I wouldn't mind being traded. Now, who to? I don't know.
That's what happens when you hit the draft as hard as what we had, and then they start coming into their own. It's very similar to the Giants almost. So many draft picks, they all start peaking at certain times, and then all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a business. You lose one, but then, Tom Green comes back this year, and, you lose Treloar, but then who was it? Jacob Hopper steps up the year after, and Tim Taranto steps up the year after, and so on. So that'll be interesting to see if we end up in a situation like that. But I think overall, I really do enjoy what I'm seeing from the list. I'm enjoying the fact that there's been improvement internally from others who are not the big popular names year in and year out. And I think it's a wait and see. Let's see how these next 5 games go. If these boys can compete with, Collingwood, GWS, and Brisbane in particular, who are the big teams out of those 5, then if we do make the finals and they perform well, how can you trade them? Let's just see what they've got.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I mean, you've got Nick Austin there, you've got David Teague there, you've got Brad Lloyd there, I don't know what pool you'd have, the fella that came from Playfair. You don't hear much about him, do you, Henry Playfair?
No, I'm not sure if off. I think I could be wrong. I thought he was part of the cuts to the start.
Oh, I honestly I didn't know that.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's true.
I thought he was head of coach or something, head of coaching. Wow, I honestly didn't know that. Yeah. That's interesting. No wonder I haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
But I think that you've got the blokes behind the scenes that, it's great that people, put up names, and yourself and myself, and we talk, and we just talk. I mean, we know what it's like just talking. It's just like talking in a pub, and, you'll be right, you'll be wrong, and whatever it is. And it's great for discussion. It's great discussion. Unfortunately, we don't have any say in who comes and goes. It's just discussion. That's all it is. And it makes for a good show, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to help in that area because I haven't really thought about it, mate. Honestly, I don't even think about that anymore. I've probably thought about that way too often in the last few years, and have probably got so many things wrong over the last few years that I've probably decided now, it's best off just leaving it alone, really. I mean,
I think you've helped.
I'm tipping you hear plenty of stuff, and I hear plenty of stuff, but none of it ever happens.
Yeah, I like to focus just on what is rather than what could be. Dan has a good saying. He says it every week. If my nan had wheels, she'd be a bike. But Helena made a comment earlier, which I think was the catalyst for what this discussion was, where she said, "That's just this conversation has made me think," and that is the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got players that in the next 2 or 3 years are going to be bloody good players, Terry. I mean, I've heard reports about the kid Kemp that he's going to be some sort of a player. He was touted as being a number 1 pick before he did his knee, or certainly top 10, and we got him at 14 or 15. So Now, I know people. I've read a few things on this end that people are quite excited about him, and absolutely, if that knee stands up, mate. They reckon he's like a Cripps type, but can take a grab.
Yep.
I'm not saying Cripper can't, but there's certainly players on our list that we haven't seen anything of yet. We haven't seen Stocker. I believe there's some personal issues there. I know nothing about them whatsoever, and nor do I, even ask about them, because that's if it's personal, it's personal. End of story. I wish the kid, well in whatever's happened in his life, but really hope that he comes back next year bigger and better than ever. He's another bloke that we don't know about. And Paddy Dow hasn't had a really crack this year. And again, he's another one that you think they can play, but we don't really know until they actually play consistent footy whether they can or whether they can't, or whether we've got too many of a certain type. And I think that's when you look at, if we've got too many of a certain type, then perhaps that's the sort of player that goes with a first draft pick to secure a deal to get a particular player. If you've got a certain type, too many of.
Awesome. Well, mate, I'd love to continue, but I'm going to wrap it up. It's been really enjoyable. I want to thank you very much for coming on and showing some support to the young bucks coming through. Myself, the Blues footy lads, we really appreciate it more than you'll know, because we learn off you. We look up to you guys who have said it before. We want to know about all this mighty Carlton Football Club that you all talk about. So we appreciate it, and your support is I'm very grateful for it, mate.
Terry, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. As you know, the Carlton show didn't go on this year for various reasons, but the biggest one probably is the COVID, unfortunately. But certainly, it's been a great opportunity to talk to you. You're a great man. I've gotten to know you a fair bit over the last 12 months, and you're a fantastic Blues supporter. What you're doing, you take out of your own time and for little reward, as we all do. But it's been fantastic tonight, and let's get after the filth on Sunday, and let's give them a bit of curry. And I'll leave you with this, Terry.
Woo! Go to fucking Baggers, mate!
Go to Baggers!